Good morning, happy Monday. As rainy as it is in Apollo Beach anyway.
All right, now I'm on you.
Who do I need to promote? Chris, you're promoted. Is Jimmy on? I don't see Jimmy yet. All right. I had to play here and now because you guys made fun of me on Friday, so. Let's have a little recap. What did you guys think about Friday? This is your time to open your microphone and participate. Camera or no camera, fine. Really? Thank you much.
It was a very good event. Great job.
Thank you, Dale. I was super impressed. Chris, Jimmy, Angelique, Susie, Samantha. I think they were probably the Chris, even by the biggest contributor. All that work. That was amazing. God, I'm still sweating.
That was a lot of fun. Thank you for everybody who showed up for that. That was a great day.
I don't know if we ever got a head count, but I think there was at least 120, 130 people there.
With vendors and everything, it was about, I think it was 125 to 130.
The venue was great, that big tent, and I didn't know what it was going to be like, but it was super. The food was amazingly spectacular. I think
One of the best events I think we've ever done.
Oh, thank you, Brian.
Fabulous.
I think it was Jimmy's outfit that threw it over the top.
That's what did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys deserve it. Great production in a year, and I thought Jody's message was spot on too. It was pretty impressive to know that we're outperforming the other offices in a year-over-year growth.
Yep.
And why is that, do you think? Thank you, Tenley.
We're not participating in any downturn.
We've been saying that for the whole almost 4 months now.
Because of our clarity, focus, action, and accountability.
Yep.
That's it.
Well, we're back to clarity too. So what else happened last week? How many people do we have on a call on a Wednesday night? We had 110 people on that call. A lot of them were agents, but we had a lot of customers too. Any feedback? We did a lot last week. Any feedback from Wednesday's home equity line of credit event? No new business yet? I think you got a lot of people thinking about, wow. I think a lot of you are thinking about, wow, maybe I should take advantage of the equity in my home right now. Show of hands on that one. The hard part's going to be finding houses that are going to meet the criteria. So we will do some more training on that coming up. All right, Jeff and I talked this morning. I guess we'll jump into it. So not having a lot of chatty Cathys this morning.
All right, so here's
No, before we do that, Jeff, let's just talk about some other stuff that's happening. Jennifer, I had 2 great conversations Thursday with friends who are looking to invest. Perfect. That's all we want. We're going to build a new market of all new people. I want to talk about a couple of things that I've been hearing. And you know, I'm going to say it again, Chris, so don't laugh. I was talking to my daughter and she put a listing up on her street. She got a full price offer, 4 showings. There she is. Hi, baby. 4 showings, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 showings, full price offer at day 1, 10 showings day 2, and the house went with an escalation clause at 41,000 over asking. That happened. Then you just put a listing up in St. Pete that you got, and I heard from your mother yesterday that you've got now a full price, two offers over asking on that one already.
We got it. It's under contract, 30,000 over ask.
What price range?
It was 385.
Holy cow.
So, yep.
Okay, so does that mean the market's hot?
No,
No.
No, it sucks, Mark.
that market's hot.
That market's hot.
Yeah.
Because Jeff, you and I talked this morning, you've got an agent who's got a $3 million listing that's getting lowball offers and stupid owner financing stuff. That
Yep.
makes sense. So
It's
not
supply and demand.
I did a boat tour yesterday with a former baseball player who's renting a condo in Clearwater Beach. She's got 4 kids. First time I ever had a stroller on my boat. Renting a condo in Clearwater Beach for $7,000 a month. The wife got online and found houses in Mirror Bay for $1.5 million and said, "Oh my God, that's a deal." And I'm going, "Are you kidding me? That house was what for 700 grand 2 years ago. And now it's $1.5 million and you think it's a deal, right? Who's the problem in that situation? Me. They think it's a deal at $1.5 million because that house in Clearwater Beach on the water, what would it be, Jeff?
3, 3.5. Yep.
Right? So that's just a different world. And then when they wanted the resort living and pools and all that type of stuff, you know, there's no other place they can get that. So I'm pretty sure we convinced them to make a decision pretty soon. So what else? What other hot markets? Jesse, I see you online. What's going on Longboat Key? Are things moving or are things not moving? No comment on that one? You guys are killing me. Killing me. All right. Chris, any good stories you've heard?
Just a lot of the ones that we've talked about. I mean, there is no market. Every street's different. Every neighborhood's different. Some neighborhoods, one section of the neighborhood sells quickly, the other doesn't. Well, sometimes the villas will sell and the single families won't. Sometimes the $1 million plus is, out the door really quick, and the 600,000 is slow to move. We're seeing it everywhere, and we're talking about them so that you guys can see and understand that. I think the most important part is pricing it right. And what you'll see it everywhere. Even Mike Ferry just did a talk on it. Jared James did a talk on it. Every single one of them just did a talk in the last 2 weeks about you have to price the property correctly. That's where you have to be. You have to price it where the value of the home should be, within the range of what, not just what's sold, but what is also going under contract. Because you'll see the pending homes are going under contracts a lot of times at a different range than what has sold in the last 90 days up to 6 months. So you have to be very cognizant of what's going on inside that micro market area.
Well, here's an example. Jesse just typed in, and so did Brian. Longboat Key is still selling many price reductions lately. Jesse wrote multi-offers and above and beyond asking on the right product. The crappier stuff is down 10%. Right.
Okay.
So you as the agent have to understand the market and know what the crappier stuff is and what the good stuff is.
Yep. Know your markets.
I have an example with my Carrollwood listing because we put it up. I wanted to put it up at 675, but the house that they are buying is more expensive than they wanted to pay up front. So they wanted to raise their listing price. So we started at a higher price, and now we're at 50 days on market with no offers yet.
Right.
Because we started higher than where the market allowed, and I've done 2 price reductions. We're going to have to do another one, and we're almost down to where we should have had it in the beginning. And we probably would have gotten multiple offers if we listed it where it was supposed to be.
Saw you, and then I never saw you again. That was
Do you get to say, "I told you so"?
I don't want to say that, but that's a tough one for me.
And Craig, let's go back to terminology for a second, because we're talking about Jesse's comment. The crappier ones are down 10%. They're not down 10%. Their list price were overshot by an extra 10%. Right. So it's not like the market died. It's just they didn't get their stupid price. They got a less than stupid price, right? On that from the list price. So the list prices are still down, like you were saying before. If that Mirror Bay house for $1.5 million
Was $1.8 million.
$1.3 million, right? And it still was $750 a couple years ago. That's still a great win, right? We have to just reprogram ourselves to think about this, because the media will start talking about, oh my God, prices are down 10%. It's sold for 15% lower than they wanted. No, they wanted a stupid ass price, right? That didn't make any sense. It sold for market value, right? So we just have to keep watching what market value is, and it doesn't matter what we ask. What's a house worth, guys? Remember this from the scripts? It's what a buyer is willing to pay for it based on whatever else is available to them the day they decide to buy, right? They are shopping and they're looking and they're picking and comparing, and they pick one, That's it. And it's that's the market value. So we don't determine value. We just position it so it's attractive in the marketplace and hope somebody nibbles on our hook. That's what we do. But we have to make sure the sellers know that and go back to the spa, right? If you price here, we're gonna have a fast sale. If you price here, we're gonna have a slower sale. If you price here, we're gonna have an average days on the market sale, and your average days on the market in this micro market is 62. So if you price around here, we'll be talking about a contract in about 2 months. You want to move faster? Let's go to this side of the spreadsheet. You want to move slower? You don't care? Let's move to this side of the spreadsheet. Now that you've seen these prices, Mr. Seller, where do you want to price your property? Right? Take it completely off of us, unload it, and it's dumped right onto them. But that's the magic.
You know what we haven't talked about in a long time?
What?
Can of beans.
Yes.
I'm gonna start talking about that again. Because then I did that boat tour yesterday. These customers, they were hot on Mirror Bay. And I heard there's a new house coming up in my neighborhood across the canal from me. And as I was showing them, I was telling them about that house has the original roof because I know it hasn't been replaced yet. So it's a 30-year-old home. And guess what's going to happen? Brian, you and I talked about this the other day at the conference. You know, the copper piped houses or the metal piped houses, it's a $40,000 fix. And these houses are on the point that you got to fix it. You got to replace it. Right. So the dented can of beans, if you will, we got to find out if the can of beans is dented or not. Because how do they retail price things on the grocery shelves? You all know how they do that? Tell us, Jeff.
Yeah, well, let's go back to this is an important aspect. You have to go outside the industry sometimes to get your point across to third-party stories. So let's say we have a company that makes beans, right? And we want to sell beans. That's our business model, right? So we're going to go to Publix or Winn-Dixie or wherever you shop, Whole Foods, and you're going to go to the green beans section. But oddly, there's a green beans section. Unless you go to Aldi, there's green beans, one choice, right? But normally you go to Publix and there's a whole section of green beans. And you look at, there's the higher shelf that has the gold can and certified organic, non-GMO, special hypoallergenic blends of beans, right? And those are the ones for $3.79 a can. Then you have the normal ones, right? That are not as frou-frou and they're $3.29 a can. Then you have some others that
Top shelf too.
top shelf, right?
So the Publix green wise is going to be a top shelf brand. Is going to be more expensive than the non-organic one.
Right.
Right.
And on the bottom, you've got the one that some kid was playing with and he dropped it and the label's peeled off and the can's dented, but it's still beans inside of it, but nobody wants it because it's not as pretty as the other one. So what do they have to do to get that one to sell? They don't want to throw it out. They discount it. So that one's the one for $1.29. So now I want beans. So I get to decide, am I willing to, is anybody going to see me when I'm opening the can? Maybe I'll buy this one. Who's it for? Right? Then you can decide which one you're buying, or you're saying, okay, let's do this. So you get to pick and go through which one do you want. So what we're about to do, Mr. Seller, is you have another can of beans and we're about to put that on the same market with the other cans of beans. So we need to figure out, are we closer to the green, hypoallergenic, organic, non-GMO, beautiful label, amazing marketing? Or are we closer to this dented piece of crapola one on the bottom? Like where do we put ourselves on the shelf? Where do we want to do it? Because we're either nicer than some or not as nice as some, or the best or the worst. And we get to decide where to interject ourselves into the marketplace, because someone's going to come in tomorrow looking for beans. And now we're one of their choices. So in order to be attractive, we have to either be prettier, nicer, and better with more bells and features and benefits, or we have to be the lowest price. How are we competing? Where do you think we sit? Does that make sense?
And where in our script does it address that? A seller on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being model perfect, your home.
How do you rate the overall condition of your home? And what would make it a 10? What repairs need to be done, right?
Right. I mean, I've basically gutted my entire house. The only thing I haven't done are my windows. And windows are almost $100,000. Right. So what would make it a 10? Make it a 10 would have new windows. Right. And that would be $100,000. So what do I have to do? If I wanted to charge top shelf dollar for it, I've either got to put new windows in, or I've got to lower the price so a buyer can afford to put windows in. What's better?
Putting them in.
It depends really, because some buyer might want to choose different windows than I would pick. But some buyer's gonna say, screw it, I don't want to mess with that.
I don't want, right, I don't want the house wide open in the rain while I'm changing windows out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But these are the third-party stories that you have conversations with to effectively price a house. Because that's, right? Chris, do you agree with that? These are the stories we have to talk about. So that being said, the one thing that's consistent right now is what, Jeff, we talked about it this morning. Starts with a B and a D. Buyer demand.
Buyer demand, okay, I was trying to spell a B with it ending with a D word, you threw me off there in that one.
Do
But
we have buyer demand?
yes,
Yes, I mean, some markets are getting multiple offers, going higher than asking price. That means there's buyer demand. And do we have a shortage of supply?
Right, so
yes. We do,
We have a shortage of supply.
in
And
some markets,
Good point.
in most markets we do, but there's some markets, if you have a listing that's been on the market for more than 30, 60, 90 days, right? You
Your
have, yeah, I was talking to the seller, I'll give you a great real life example. So Capri's, right? The townhomes we talked about on Friday. I need to get another 2 sales. We don't, because we're going vertical on the project, and we haven't had none of them sold in the last couple of months. And we were talking about that, and I was going through the process because he's like, do you want it? Should we drop a price or anything on it? I said, no, right? Absolutely not, because the value is there. So it's either the market or the product, right? So doing the analysis on it, if there's other condos that are 4-bedroom or townhomes or houses that are 4+ bedrooms for a weekly rental, if those are selling, then it's the product. If there's nothing else and nothing else is selling, then it's the market, in that micro market, right? So that's the issue of that. So when we look at your listings, if it's been on the market for 30, 60, 90 days, it's either the market or it's the product. Because if other homes comparable are selling and not yours, then it's your product. It's that can of beans. You missed the mark with marketing or price on the 2 of those things, right? So that's the conversation to keep having with these, because there's always buyer demand, and some markets just slow down. The ability, the market to buy a house that you're not going to have for a year and a half and sit a few $100,000 on the sidelines for a year and a half, that market isn't as strong as it was 9 months ago or a year ago. It's still strong, it's ish, but not as strong. So we just have to guide our sellers, because it'd be a hell of a lot easier to say, oh, let's drop it to 200 grand, but that's not the right thing to do, right? Because the values are still there, and it's all about the motivation of the seller, and we're building it anyway. And by over the next year, they're going to be worth $2+ million because of the cash flow associated with it. So you got to know your product at the end of the day too, but you got to consult, right? Product or market, because there is still buyer.
It's always supply. It's always supply and demand, but it's funny. Jim Graff and I are big Commanders fans, and we were talking at the event, and the Commanders obviously recently came for sale in the NFL, right? And if you have been in the market to buy an NFL team, you've had 2 options over the last 2 years. The Broncos came up for sale last year, and they sold for about $3 billion. So now here you are. If you want to buy a team, there's one team that's on the market for sale. One, right? So what does Dan Snyder do, current owner of the Redskins, which he bought the team for $980 million in 1998, right? So you could make an argument that if he sells for $3 billion, he did really well. What does Dan do? Dan says, no, we're going for $6 billion. That's my price, right? And everyone around him said, there's no way. No one's paying $6 billion. The last comp was $3 billion, right? There's no way you're getting double what somebody paid last year for the same product in a different market with arguably less controversy around them, right? What happens? He's in a multi-bid situation, ends up getting his $6 billion. And then it came out today that at the last minute, somebody else came in and said, no, wait. I'll pay $7 billion. I'll pay $2 billion right now up front, no questions asked. The other $5 billion I'll pay in the next 7 days. I'll agree to cover any legal fees that happen from here on out. And we'll take full responsibility for anything that's still pending in litigation if you sell right now.
Wow.
Right? And Jim and I were talking, we're like, is this not real estate? Like, this is literally the game we play, right? But you never know. It's 100% supply and demand. If you wanted to own an NFL team, you don't know when the next one's going to come up. There's one for sale. How bad do you want it? And so $7 billion. And that is more than double what the same exact thing sold for last year. So you never know, right? So you got to play the game, but it's 100% supply and demand.
It sounds like the Broncos had a bad agent or they won FISBO.
Right.
They were bragging they got their price, but they left a lot of money on the table.
But the same group that bid on them that lost, guess what they were doing, right? They were bidding on the Commanders and they were about to pay double what they would have paid last year had they just gotten more aggressive. And that's a story to tell too, because how many buyers did you have that could have bought 5 years ago that didn't, that now are complaining still that prices are up? Well, you know what? They're going to pay more, right? It just is what it is. So decisions.
There's also those buyers that are going to be waiting on the sidelines, waiting for the next NFL strike before they try to buy a team, because that's going to come around. Don't worry. The economy's doing this. People are going to stop. Bud Light just lost this much money. They're going to have to stop selling in stadiums. The owners are going to start losing money. They're going to be desperate to sell. And there's going to be an NFL player strike. I'm going to get a deal on something. There's always those too.
Yep.
So we have to deal with all kinds, but it all comes down to, like Mike said, supply and demand. You have to know what's selling. You have to know what's available. You have to know what the buyers are willing to pay for those homes, what they're not willing to pay for those homes or teams, and what they have paid for those homes or teams. But that's a prime example, Al. Just because somebody paid this doesn't mean that's what it's worth. It could be worth a lot more. It could be worth a little bit less right now. We have to look and see what other buyers are actively doing.
Well, and to your point, Chris, there's other options, right? If I only want to spend $3 billion right now, could I go buy a WNBA team? Could I go buy a hockey team? Could I go buy a MLS team?
Yep.
Right? There's other options. But if you want to own an NFL team, $7 billion, right? So it's the same game. So sometimes though, people can relate, especially if you have a client that's a big sports guy. These are conversations you could have with them right now, and they're going to understand those more than they may even understand a real estate conversation.
Good points. So here's the concept. Buyer demand is high in our area, and we simply don't have enough inventory in some markets. You know people I don't know. Who do you know who may be moving in the near future? I'd love to talk to them. Do you think that's a good message to send?
Yes, it's the message to send right now, because there's not any problem that can't be solved with more inventory. Right? Facts. So what we need to do is find out who's doing. Craig, we were talking this morning.
Yeah, I'm walking with my neighbors, right? And they whisper in my ear, hey, I hear these people are moving to Texas.
Life is happening.
Life is happening. And I talked to one of our agents who works this neighborhood, and she said, yeah, I'm already working with them. So there's going to be a new house on the market. And that's going to be a challenge because there's nothing on the market now. So what's the challenge? Are you going to be the Commanders or are you going to be the Broncos?
Yeah,
That's a house that's a dented roof, though. So that's going to be a tough conversation for them to have. Because when we were talking to the buyers on the boat tour, we were talking about aging neighborhoods, because they don't want to be in a neighborhood where there's new kids and kids' activities. So what happens in my neighborhood? I've been here for 22 years. My 30-year-old daughter's on the screen. She grew up here as a child with lots of child activities. Now she's 30 years old. So theoretically, all the kids went away. But what happened? A lot of the original owners that lived in this neighborhood moved to Valencia Lakes out in Waimama, because it's an active adult community with lots of amenities. So the older people are moving out, and who's moving in? Younger people with kids. So now we got this whole new dynamic of there's Easter egg hunts and Halloween parties and all these kids events that are going on in the neighborhood because the neighborhood has changed, right? And I'm not being, what's the word? Discriminating. That's just how markets work, right? Brian, what's happening at Bal Harbor? Same thing, right? And what's really interesting to me, at least where I live, is I took my boat out last weekend and I drove around the neighborhood, and what used to be dilapidated docks are now brand new docks. What used to be beat up boats are now beautiful new yachts. And what used to be rundown backyards is now landscaped and new trees. So what happened? It used to be a $300,000 neighborhood. And who lives in $300,000 neighborhoods? $300,000 buyers. Now they're $900,000 neighborhoods. Who lives in $900,000 neighborhoods? $900,000 buyers.
Who have a debt to income ratio that it supports a $900,000 house, which gives more free cash flow than the $300,000 debt to income buyer. So there's more cash flow for the Royal Palms and the rock feature and the waterfall.
Correct. And there's just interesting conversations to have as we're pricing a house. Because if you look at some of the houses on my street that just sold, they were spit polished and shined. I mean, just beautiful. But you can't say that one's sold for a lot of money. It's spit polished and shined, and compare a dented one to one that was spit polished and shined, right? So that's the challenge we got to go. So what I'd like you to do.
The thing about this script for today is we're getting very prescriptive with the text messaging, direct mail, direct messaging, emails, however you want to deliver the message. Anyway, but the facts are simple, and Greg, you can post it in here if you didn't already. Is here's the key is they know people you don't know. I know my sphere. My sphere knows me. I know people, they know to think about me when they think about real estate. It's important to do that. But they know people I don't know. So it's important to go deeper into the sphere level of, hey, if you need to sell, you call me. Now it's going deeper to, hey, I want you to think about me in another compartment. When you hear peripheral real estate happening around you, please think about me. So without saying that, saying, hey, Puma, you know people I don't know, right? Who can you think of that's maybe that life's happening to that might require a real estate move? I'd love to talk to them. Buyer demand's crazy. I could put the maximum amount of money in their pocket the way that we do, right? That's the messaging that come out here is who do you know people I don't know, who do you know that has life happening to them that might require a move, because I could put a lot of money in their pocket because of the buyer demand. And so I'm not asking them to sell anything. I'm not asking them to buy anything. I'm just asking them to think a little deeper, a couple layers. Who in their world is moving to Dallas? Who's getting a job transfer? Who's getting married? Who's having kids? Who's all that stuff? So that's where we're going with this week's message, is to tap into a potential listing lead, because that's going to create buyers. That's going to create income on there.
And I think we have to understand, or you need to understand, the value you bring in this equation, because overpricing a house actually costs the seller more money. Why? Jessica, you're a Carrollwood seller. They've been on the market for how many days now?
Still paying their mortgage.
They're
Yep.
still
They're still paying their mortgage.
they're still paying their property taxes. They're still paying their insurance. All those things are still going on. So, you know, they lost 3 or 4 months of market time. That's, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30,000 bucks. Now they're still living in the house, so it's not necessarily all that, but you got to remind them that the cost to carry still exists. And if it's a vacant home, it's even more important that we nail it right for them from the beginning. So these are all talking points for you to have when you send out the text message. Jeff, how many text messages we're going to require this week per day?
I think it should go until your thumb almost falls out. And I mean, look, here's the question, guys. What we're asking is not difficult, and you guys know that, right? This is not a hard thing to do. This 100% works. It's impossible for you not to get listing leads as a result of this. And you're good at incubating them, moxieing them, and following up with them and getting your things going. So the question is, how many can you do? How many can you do this week is the thing. I think a bare minimum. All right, I'm gonna ask you guys, chime in. What do you think the bare minimum acceptable level that to send out would be? What do you think? With no hints, Craig. I want to know honestly from you, from your perspective, from where you sit, what's a minimum level, acceptable level for you? Just type it in. I'm curious to see what you guys per day. Per day.
5 days a week.
Let's see. 10 per day, Dale saying. 10 per day, Meredith saying. 20, Lauren saying. 25. Do I hear 26? Do I hear 30? I got 10 from Jess. Right? I got 20 from Chris. Okay. We got 10 from Jose. We got a 15. All right, so we're running from 10 to 25. 10 to 25. Split it. What's the difference between 10 and 25?
15, so 17 and a half.
Let's go with 15. We're splitting the difference. 15.
Well, I would just say minimum of 10, and if you can do more, do more. Because I think a lot of people said 10. I don't want to scare them out of 10. If you do 10, but you can always do more, like Jackie.
Bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
All right, now I'm gonna do this.
Now, this is a text, it's a Facebook post, it's a direct message on Instagram. What is it?
Yes.
There you
Right.
go.
Yes.
You could do 3 of each and be done for the day. 3
And-
Facebook.
10 connection, right? 10. This isn't just 10 texts, right? This is 10 conversations that are going to come across as the end of the day. You might have to send out, if you do a post on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and text 30 people from your contact list on your phone, starting in A's, right? You're going to get business, right? So we want 10 engagements, right? Not just 10 texts, 10 engagements throughout the course of the day. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set a curse, right? If you don't get 10 a day, you will sleep like crap. You will not do it. The guilt will eat you alive. And you're going to sit there with your brain on fire, thinking about how in the world did I not do 10, right? And it's not going to be a good situation. So I'm going to throw that out there that just don't even try it. You don't want to know what happens if you don't get 10 connections on a day. So 10 you can do. Set out the time, block it out. When are you going to do it today? You're going to do it right after this call. Are you going to do it around lunch? Are you going to do it in the evening? You're going to do it tonight? When are you going to do it? Block it out on your phone right now. And how much time? Let me ask you guys this. How many people do you have? How much time does it going to take to do 10 connections, do you think? Realistically, fire out. Maybe you have to fire out 50 things to get 10 people to bite and converse with you.
I want to make it more clear. If I put a Facebook post up, that's one post. That's not a connection, right? The post would be posted, and if somebody comments back on it and you comment back, that's a connection, right?
Yes.
But that's one post. If you send a Facebook message to 10 people, then you're going direct message to 10 people. And if they re-engage with you or reply, that's a connection.
Yes.
That's 2, right? So same thing, direct message. So definitely put a post, but that doesn't count for 10. That only counts for engagements that come from that post.
Right.
So you want to do direct messages, you want to do Facebook messages or whatever they're called, and you want to do text messages. And you can do emails too. You know, a lot of you are getting real good results with your mocks I'm hearing. You can send out a nice little email with this type of message and hit your entire group and say, look, Puma, Lauren asks, do you know what date you put up the graphic titled, "Let's Help Each Other"? It's time for her to repost that. So maybe you can help find that one. But that's it. We're helping each other. And this isn't you, no excuse. This isn't you asking for business. This is you asking your friends for help, which is totally different. So let me go into this example real quick. Jeff, we were taught this many, many, many years ago. Well, I don't want to seem like I'm begging for business from my friends.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. I'll use you, Jeff, because you're there. You have a doctor that you go to.
Yep.
What would you feel like if your doctor called you and said, hey, Jeff, I'm opening a new office in South Tampa. Do you know anybody that could use my services there? Because it's a whole new market for me. What would your reaction to your doctor? Oh, this guy's begging for business. It's ridiculous. I'm hanging up on him. Or what would your reaction more likely be?
I would be excited because he's really good and I'd like other people to have that experience, and I'd feel proud that he asked me to help. Right?
Yep.
That's the concept.
That's the truth. Ask yourself that question. I would be honored if my hair person called and said, hey, I'm opening a new salon in a different market. Who do you know in that area that might want to use my services?
Not Craig.
Yeah, don't put me on that list. But the idea is you wouldn't be offended by it if it happened to you. So let the drunk monkey in your mind get away and don't listen to it. They'd be honored because they think they know you, they like you, they trust you, they're happy to share your successes.
Let me piggyback on that for a second, because Mike Puma every morning sends stuff out for you to post on social.
Yep.
Right? The reason why we want you to post every day something on social, your own stuff too, but certainly the thing about real estate is for consistency, because what you don't want to happen is what Craig was just talking about. Well, I never hear from Joe Diener until he's asking for business. That's insincere. I don't like that. Right. If you just once a quarter pop out and say, I need business help, right? It's not sincere. But when you're contributing and becoming part of people's lives on a daily or a very regular basis, they know what you do. So for you to ask is normal because they're used to seeing you from a consistency standpoint, right? So if you don't like the message, post the damn thing anyway. It doesn't matter. It's not the message, it's the fact that you posted a message that's important on the daily thing. So if one day you're like, I don't really want to post it because I don't really want buyers, post it, right? Because it's going to keep the consistency going on. So when you ask for something, it's not unreasonable. Does that make sense, Mike?
Yeah, it's 100% the right answer. I mean, the only reason that you feel like you're being salesy is because you're inconsistent, right? So if you are consistent and you're texting out and you're reaching out and you're messaging and you're posting and you're engaging consistently, then it's just you doing you, right? It's just another day. And that becomes your brand. They're used to it and it's constant, right? But when you are only reaching out when you're selling something, yeah, guess what? You're being salesy, right? So you are. And that's why it feels that way, because you are. So that's the name of the game is consistency. And if you do it consistent, and not just with the daily post, right? If you're reaching out to say happy birthday, if you're reaching out to see how they're doing, if you're reaching out when a life event happens with them, if you're engaging with them regularly, then this text message going out is going to have a major impact, right? But the whole point of this too is, and the whole point of the post that was sent out on 2/28 was not necessarily even just business. It's, hey, let's help each other, right? Because they're likely selling something or know somebody that is, or know people, right? You know people they don't know either. So especially if you have people in your sphere that have a small business themselves, the message to them is, hey, let me help you and you help me, right? We're both business owners here. So let me help you. And at the same time, let's help each other. Right? I know people you don't know, and you know people I don't know. So let's network together. Same thing as if you were to go to a networking event. And that's how you have to treat this. And I know every single one of you have people in your sphere that own their own business, that own a small business. And guess what, guys? They're scared. The economy is scary. If you own a business right now, you're scared because there's so many unknowns. And so if you can help them, great. Now you're bringing value and vice versa. So use this to your advantage. But yes, consistency.
But Mike, you're sending it to everybody and everybody's posting it. So I just look like everybody else who's just posting the same thing. Look, man, the reality is not everybody's going to see your post and everybody else's post. Like you say, you know people that I don't know. And the whole point is to get everybody to see it. And then if that's still a concern of yours, take Mike's post, save them into a folder in your Gmail called Daily Post, wait till next week and start posting everything next week that he put up this whole week. So you're posting it on a different day of everybody else.
Whipper wrote in, Puma's posts do not have an expiration date, so it could be used multiple times.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Can I add
I mean,
something?
listen, guys, there's only so
something
many
to
real estate topics, right? And we're putting out 5 a week, so it's almost 300 a year. There's only so many things, right? So they're going to repeat each other. They're going to be on similar topics eventually, right? This cycles through. I'm not that creative. So there's only so many things that we can talk about. But the point is, Chris is spot on. You have options, right? The whole point of the daily action plan is to give you something. So if you're going to do nothing, doing something is better than doing nothing, right? And so that's the point. If you're not happy with it, go create your own. Use it as inspiration. You're more than welcome to do that. But you have something to put out there. And if you're going to do nothing today, if you were going to post nothing today, if you were going to share nothing today, your results were going to be 0. At least if you post this, even if 7 other people in your sphere post the same exact thing, you're giving yourself an at-bat to at least have something happen. And to me, that's an advantage.
Can I piggyback on that for a
Please.
second? It's true because you stay top of mind when you post everything. I cannot tell you the amount of people, I've got a lot of different spheres, especially the Lawrence locals. Everybody stops and asks me, well, you're doing well in the market. I see you post all the time, this, and that, and very informational, and you have a closing and you're getting this under contract. That's their perception. They're seeing us as busy because we're posting and we're engaged and we're giving information. So it also debunks what they are hearing from the media. So it is very important to post no matter what the content is, whether you agree or not. You are providing information to some section of who you're posting to. Every post is going to reach somebody differently. So you're right. If you don't, you miss 1,000 shots of the ones you never take, right? So it's simple. I wake up, check my email, look for Puma's post, and put it everywhere. It's a no-brainer, and you stay top of mind that way, and everybody sees that you are busy and you're not paying attention to what the media is telling you and what the other markets are. So I love it. So, there.
Which is what came out at the awards rally and why we're outperforming the markets, because we're doing different things.
Right.
That was really good stuff. All right, so Chris sent my text. I put the text in the chat. You can copy that. Chris sent out an email with the message that's in your inbox. So that's your job. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. I gotta say it 7 more times to make up for the 10, but that's it. So Mom, are you gonna send out 10 text messages today or Facebook posts or anything like that? Head nod's fine.
Yes, I am.
Do I have to go around and ask all of you for a verbal commitment, or are you just gonna say yes?
I have a thumbs up or a hand raise, just that you're in, right? Guys, this will work. 100% promise you this will work. We will be talking about listing leads and appointments on Friday, and we will be fired up. And that's the whole point, guys. That's what we need. That's what we need. Inventory, 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 inventory.
And then we got to be strategic about pricing it, and we'll cover more of that.
They're going to price it. Don't worry, even take the stress off of yourself. You just have to be strategic about how we position it, right? They get to pick the price where we start with. So that's the best part about the whole process there.
Oh, Tenley has an animated thumbs up. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen that one before. All right. 9:14. Do we need to say any more?
No, let's give them 15 bonus minutes. You can knock out all of them between now and 9:30. So you got the time blocked off, sit there and knock it out.
And it's
And if
Monday.
if you need a kick in the butt, reach out to one of us and we'll do that for you. So
Remember the voodoo hex too.
yeah, I'm sorry in advance for those of you who try to sneak by today without 10. You're going to have a really crappy night's sleep. So I don't want that to happen for you. You got this. Do it, do it, do it. It's this magic sleep number, right? 10, and you're going to sleep like a baby tonight.
Awesome and amazing.
Uh,
Managers will see you at 11. So we plan our sales meeting for tomorrow. So tune in tomorrow at sales meeting at 8:30 as well at our normal Zoom channel. So,
you got it, guys.
and thanks for all the attendance on Friday. That was a great event.
Yes.
Bye all.